So let me ask you, Brian, like with that whole thing, why do you think that it bothered you so much?
Well, I just think that we're all here to help others, right? And when you have an opportunity to give, um, and you really do have an opportunity, it wasn't going to put anybody out. Um, a little piece of bread, 20 euros. Like I said, it didn't look like he was going to go buy a bottle of vodka or whatever with it. It just, it's little gestures in the world that can change other people's lives. And I've said it before, um, an act of kindness can can change the world. It can have a ripple effect, not only, and this is a fact, people can look this up. You don't even have to do an act of kindness. If you witness an act of kindness, just witness it. It will raise your dopamine higher than any other drug on the market by just witnessing someone doing an act of kindness.
Hmm.
And that's a fact. People can look that up.
And so, just to give anybody just tuning in some context, Brian, you were on vacation in Spain, and somebody came up basically like asking for money, asking for food, and somebody that you were with kind of like answered for you and like kind of like shooed him away and said he doesn't want to give anything.
Yeah, yeah,
And
don't, kind of bullied into not giving. First time
yeah,
that I've ever experienced that, but that's okay. A good guy, he meant well. His
right, right,
experience is don't help these people. They'll multiply. That might be his belief. I don't know. It's not
right.
my belief. I didn't honor myself in that moment. And the guy left, right? So,
So
um,
I guess what I'm curious about is what made you, when you think about it, why do you think that you listened to your friend instead of who you know that you are at your core? Like,
yeah, that's a great question. I think on it was on the spot. I wasn't prepared at all. He just came right up on the side of me, which when I saw him, because I'm always aware of my circle. But when I saw him, then the guy automatically that I was with just say, "Okay, get out of here, leave. He doesn't want to give, blah, 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 blah," on and on and on. A very worldly traveler that I was with, who maybe his experience has been, um, I tried to help someone and it just went south on him. I don't know. I don't know his story, but
right,
to answer your question, instead of trying to be like a politician where they skirt around the
right.
question,
So
right?
all the surrounding details instead of just answer the question.
Yeah. I think maybe I just had um maybe I had fear, of not listening to him. Possibly I had fear like, oh, he's gonna think I'm weak or something to give to someone who needed it, when it would have been just the opposite. And when I
Mhm.
replayed it in my head, you know, I I had made a crucial mistake. And that's why I said, listen, honor yourself, honor who you are, and work on it. It takes work. I wasn't prepared for that situation. If I would have been prepared for it, I think I would have handled it a lot better. So even in the moments when you're not prepared, try your best to honor who you are. Does that?
Yeah, that that makes sense. I have another question. Um, and this may sound like I'm playing devil's advocate, but I'm being really serious.
Yeah,
Like,
no, hey, that's great. And you know what's great about it? You can do that because you were once that guy.
yeah, yeah. And but here's the question, right? And this is taking into account who I used to be and who I am now. When you say honor who you are, what if who you are, or like, what if the way that I view myself and who I think that I am actually isn't something positive. What would you say? I mean, because
Oh,
honor who you
like you're
are sounds great, but
like so what you're saying is if you're an axe murderer, hey, you gotta honor that. That's not really what I'm saying.
because like no, I mean I'm saying this because of this, right? Like I know that me when I was um active in my addiction, when I was on the street, when I was asking for handouts like that, who I thought I was in that moment was not somebody that I wanted to honor. And if somebody would have told me in that moment, if they would have said just honor who you are, I would have been like that wouldn't land with me. I'd be like,
Real, yeah.
because I'd
I
be
guess
like, because I would think, well, who I am is a piece of shit. Why am I going to honor this dude? You know? Um,
yeah, I can see your point. I can see the point you're making, Ron. However, I can also see that, the terminology is honor who you are. Like, I guess honor your greater self. Um, Maybe that would be a way to say it. Honor who you are. Most people are good, you know. I
yeah,
don't think anyone sits there and says, "Well, well, maybe they do.
yeah,
I'm
I
a piece
did
of
for a
shit."
long time. Like
Yeah,
I'm being serious.
but you still like your heart, right? Let's talk about your heart for a minute. Even though you were down and out on your luck, you were still kind, right? You were still a kind person. You weren't like, oh, let me go kick that dog, or let me go punch that girl right in the face, or let me go
Yeah,
rob that guy. That wasn't you. What I'm saying is you sat back and said, hey, I'm down on my luck. I'm a piece of shit, but you still have a heart and compassion for other people, even in that situation that you were
right. But that is
in.
true. But from my perspective, in that moment, when I'm in that situation, all the good things that I can see that I had now were invisible to me.
Hmm.
Like all I saw was all the bad things and all the bad qualities. And so I bring that up because like if somebody happens to stumble across this video and they may be in that space where they maybe you don't call yourself a piece of shit, maybe you say other negative things about yourself. Um or like you just kind of like a lot of human beings do this, right? Um where you say like I just can't lose any weight, even though it's like you feel like if you just lost some weight, you would be happy and fulfilled. And you're like, I just
Hmm.
can't do it. And then it's like, then you feel bad, and then you go get a pint of ice cream, like after you've already had dinner and dessert, because fuck it, why even try? Like that kind of thing. That's something that happens all the time, and it doesn't matter. What I've noticed is that it doesn't matter, um, like what things that I have in my life that prove that to be the opposite if I don't even look at them,
Hmm.
you know? And so one thing that I like to like tell myself now is it's never about who I am or who I am in this moment or like who you are, because human beings aren't static, right? And what I mean by that is we don't come out of a mold that like presses us. It's like boom, there's the human, and that's just how you are. Like it's we're always becoming something. It's an ongoing process, and so what I like to say is like maybe like honor who you know you're becoming.
Hmm. But what if you don't? What if you don't know? I mean, now that we're going down this rabbit hole of
Right,
Ron, going down the
right.
rabbit hole of Ron Carter.
Well, if you don't know who you're becoming, it's really simple. It's just a simple question. We've talked about this a lot, right? The power
Hmm.
of asking questions, especially to ourselves. And
Yeah.
even if you're watching this, or maybe even you right now, Brian, if you're like, well, I don't know who I'm becoming, it's like just ask yourself, well, who do you think you need to become?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. We always say that, ask better questions. I'm trying to picture yourself in such a crap state. So if I'm saying that, honor who you are, honor who you want to be. And I'm looking at it from the the dark point of view that you're making, right? If someone's down and out, I think if, maybe if someone's really down and out, they've already switched the channel off. But I'm thinking, yeah, what could be a better phrase? What could be a better phrase? Honor who you want to be, honor who, or I don't know. What what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
this is something that I like to say for this. It's not who you're it's who you know you're meant to become.
Hmm.
Like I'm not going to tell you who you're meant to become. I don't know. I could tell you all day and you'll treat it just like, kids when parents tell them to clean their room and then they're not going to do it just because their parents told them because it was somebody else's idea, right? And so people do that too. If I try to tell you who you're meant to become, inherently you'll be like, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea for anybody else but me," you know. But if I say like, um, honor who you know you were meant to become. It's like I'm not telling you who that is or what traits or qualities, but it's tapping into that inherent goodness that you already mentioned that all of us have. It's tapping into that and like letting the person like decide what that goodness is and then like also like extrapolate it into the future of knowing that
Mm,
like I do these things right now to become that later. And it's kind of like a trick because when I do things, when I look at a future version of myself who is um who has grown and evolved past where I am now, and I think of the things that that version of myself does, and then I start doing them right now, well, guess what? I'm that version, like that's me right now, you know, like because I'm doing the things. um,
yeah, right, right.
yeah,
So, um, quickly, right? So the point is, you know, if you're out there and you do have that opportunity to give to another human, even if it's just listening to their story, you could change the world doing that, one person at a time. And that ripple effect can be enormous, you know.
right. I can see, by the way, I can see how like not doing that would affect you. Um, just because, as humans, we tend to really feel discomfort when we're not living in alignment with our beliefs and the things that
Mm,
we hold true to ourselves, you know? And and I know that talking about giving and like we've talked about that like a lot and you have a lot of other videos on your channel talking about that and I know that's just a part of who you are. It's who you've already become, you know? And
right.
so just so I can see how that would like feel way out of alignment not doing that. It's just like if I were to get off this podcast and go to 7-Eleven and get like a fifth of Jack Daniels and be like, I'm just gonna have a drink today and take a
Yeah.
load off. Like that would feel so freaking uncomfortable. Like I don't it's not who I am anymore. I don't do stuff like that. Um and uh and yeah, there would be so much like misalignment and friction going on there.
Mm.
Um,
And that's a great point you just brought up, because when you feel it in your body, you know something's not right. You know it, no matter who you are.
hmm,
You know it. You're like, something's not right. Then that's when you should look into it and say, okay, wait a minute, why am I feeling like this? And then make a decision off of how you're feeling inside. Why am I getting all twisted up internally?
right.
You know?
Al- Also, I love this because I'm just like devil's advocating the crap out of everything you're saying. Um, because that is 100% true. But I've also noticed it going around the other way. Like 100% transparency, right? Like today, for whatever reason, I have this weird, like, kind of like pit in my stomach. I don't know why. I noticed it like an hour before we were getting on a podcast, and I asked myself, I was like, why do you feel this way? Like, like nervousness or anxiety. Like, there's nothing coming up, no crazy things. I'm like, I'm just going through my routine that I normally just go through, and I was like, why do you feel like this right now? And so here's what I've noticed, especially going from being on one end of the spectrum to the other, where I'm like, where I view myself as a piece of shit, and then I'm doing all this personal development stuff and taking action and growing towards something. And that's
Yeah.
that whenever I feel, whenever I'm approaching the end of my comfort zone, even if it's because I'm doing something positive or growing in a positive way, once I get towards the end of that comfort zone, I feel like that.
You feel
Like
like you shouldn't be there almost.
exactly. There's like
Yeah,
a
there's a lot of people like that when you
even
uh,
when growing in a positive direction, in a
yeah.
direction that I say that I want to go in, and then I
Mm-hmm.
start to get to this place where it's like, all right, we're reaching the area that we haven't got to before, and then all of a sudden it's like the stuff that I've been doing to get there, like I just don't feel like doing it, like for whatever
Yeah.
reason, like I feel not good, and then like I've done this before where I felt that and then I didn't do the stuff. And then
Well,
I
that's
kind of like limited myself. I didn't keep growing. I kind of just stayed in the same spot.
yeah, yeah, sure. There's a lot of people when you turn up that thermostat and it starts getting hotter, they self-sabotage because they're like, wait a minute, I don't deserve this success. I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't me. I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Let's go down a notch. Let's go get that fifth. Let's go to
Right.
7-Eleven and get a fifth.
Yeah.
But that's what happens, right? Self-sabotage, and when you start climbing up and getting climbing up that ladder and the temperature's rising, you're getting to where you want to be. Pay attention that you don't self-sabotage. And how would you deal with that, Ron?
Mm.
Would you like how are you dealing with that now?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Because I didn't even think about that, and that'll probably be helpful for some people. So what I do now is I notice that. I mean, I've been through that so many different times in different areas that I kind of usually all I have to do is be like, why am I feeling this way? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's that thing again. And so now what I do is I take the action that I have planned out anyways, even though I don't feel good while I'm doing it, like that day or in that moment. What I used to do is I used to sit back and reevaluate. I'm like, well, I'm not feeling good right now, so maybe I gotta change things. I gotta do things in a different way. I gotta like maybe I'll change these goals or but now I know that like this is just what it feels like to grow. Growth is not comfortable. That's why there's the term growing pains.
Yeah.
It's growth is not something that uh, just feels great while you're doing it. It feels great looking
Mm.
back, similar to like climbing a really steep mountain. It's like you're gonna be out of breath, you're gonna be tired, legs gonna be burning. But once you get to the top and you turn around and you look at how far you came, that's when you get the massive dopamine injection into your brain, and you feel great about the journey. And and so I try to remember that in those moments where I'm like, okay, this is like this is that right now. Except the only difference is I'm not on a mountain and I'm by myself and no one even knows that I'm feeling this, but I do.
So if someone's listening to this and they're starting to succeed, and all of a sudden they're like, "Holy shit, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm I'm getting way too successful and whatever. I'm just not supposed to, I don't feel comfortable." You would just say, just push past it, keep going.
Yeah, and usually those thoughts much easier said than done, right?
Mm.
Um, because usually those thoughts aren't as clear as that. the way that I've experienced them has been like this, right? So I'll just give one example. Um, and this is from like 2023 with a business that, you know, Tyga and I started, right? Um, so we were doing well, probably hit like 50 or 60K in revenue within like 4 or 5 months, and we were just like chugging along with it. And then we had 1 month where we had zero in revenue, and in that
After the
month,
50 and 60, you went to zero. You had a bad month. Okay.
yeah, 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 you can call it that, a bad month, right? Even though we were
Yeah.
still doing all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so, um, what I realize now is that was just like regression to the mean. That's like, and what I mean by that is, it's like if you flip a coin over and over again and it lands on heads 8 times in a row, you flip a coin 8 times and it lands on heads every time. It's like, does that mean that you expect it to keep landing on heads every time you flip it? Or does that mean that it's pretty much due to land on tails? Like it's been so,
Hmm.
you know, and so the first 5 months of us getting sales, getting sales, getting sales, getting sales, it's like the coin was landing on heads. I know this now, looking back on it, right? And then like that July, it landed on tails. So it was due. But what we did, because I was freaking out, we were both freaking out about it. Like, all right, what do we do? We got to change things. It's not working. It's like, no, dude, it's working. It just didn't work right now, and that's okay. Just keep doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't keep doing the same stuff. We're like, we're going to change the prices all around. We're going to change the structure of everything. We're going to change basically the entire business model. And
Total panic of what was working, and now we're gonna sabotage the shit out of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
that's the clear way of looking at it, right? But we didn't even see that then. We're like, it's just not work. Like this is going to be way easier, blah blah blah. And so we changed the pricing to a monthly membership model. And without going into all the business details, we like basically changed it all around. And from doing that, it's like it was like starting over from zero again, right? Except this time the price change was um like 1/30th the price. So it's like even though we got the same amount of sales, the same sales velocity, the revenue didn't shoot right back up to where it was at before, right?
Mm. And
And
how did the clients feel like who paid more?
um, a lot of the clients that already paid more had already started focusing on other stuff. Like they came
Ah.
in and then they were focusing on other stuff, and so nobody really complained about that.
Hmm.
Um, but and so that's one way that I've done that, right? And that's kind of like one of the lessons that I extracted from that is, okay, when I feel like that, like just keep doing everything that you've been doing
Hmm.
because you're about to hit another glass ceiling. That's why you're feeling like that. You're unconsciously trying to regulate yourself down back to where you feel like you should be at.
Mm. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a good, those are two good points, you know. You know, when you're feeling twisted up inside and you know there's something there's something not right. I'm like for me, I use terminology. I'm not honoring who I am. That's how I look at it. You could be a devil's advocate and twist that up a little, but
right,
how I feel when I'm feeling twisted up inside, I know I'm not honoring the person I'm supposed to be. So if you're listening out there and you're feeling like, oh, you know, when maybe you're in a relationship and you just don't feel right about it, or maybe, you know, you're at a job you don't feel right about, or whatever it is. If you're not feeling good internally, focus on it. Why? Why am I not feeling right? And ask yourself better questions. And like Ron said, sometimes, you know, you're going up that ladder, that success, that elevator, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God, I don't deserve this." That's a whole other that's a whole other point. You do deserve it. You've worked for it. That's why you're going up the ladder. But you need to
right,
see it. You need to internally feel it and know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Right, right. And like from my experience, whenever I'm feeling that feeling, it's kind of similar to the feeling I have now. And I think as a side note, I think I have this now because it's like I'm going to school full time, getting all A's. I just got accepted into a university, and I'm like, this all this stuff going on, and then like still growing like the internet business, doing the podcast, keeping up with everything. Like, and I'm like, and so in my mind, I'm like, this is crazy. You're like, you're actually keeping up with all this stuff, and you're doing it all, and you're not doing
Mm,
it all like half-assed either. And I'm like, so part of me is like, all right, so like you need to stop. You need to slow it down on some of these things. You need to tell yourself that you need to take a break. You need to tell yourself you need to like go just surf for 2 weeks and not do any of it. And
mm,
you know, because these are the things that I feel like I want to do. But it's like, that's because like this isn't normal for me yet to do all these things well together. Once that's the comfort zone, then this feeling won't be there at all. I won't have it,
mm.
you know, but it's going to
Well,
take time for that
I
to
think
become the
the
comfort zone.
I think the amazing thing about being human, right? In people who are driven like you are, right? You'll always keep filling that. You're always going to keep filling that need to I don't want to say succeed, but that need to help others, that need to just keep going and going and going. And I think when I listen to you, it reminds me of a lot of what I did a little bit when I was younger. I just started taking every Friday off. I just started doing that. And I would say to you, Ron, I would say find time for you every single day. Like, even if it's just, hey, I'm going to grab my board, I'm going out, I'm going to hit the waves for an hour, or I'm going to go for a walk with my girlfriend, or, walk Coda the dog, or, do you know what I mean? So
Right.
find it now because 20 years can go by real quick, my friend. And that's experience telling you that. Um, I'll tell you a quick story about one of the probably the greatest mentor in my life. He was a very, very successful businessman. I was very fortunate to have him in my life, to know him. And he always told me, when you got a problem, Bry, you just go to work. It'll solve the problem. And it worked for me. It worked for many, 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 many years. And I became a workaholic, right? And that's okay. People
Yeah.
honor workaholics in this country. Oh, look at him, right?
Right. Yeah.
So my mentor ended up he got Parkinson's, then he got cancer, and he was gonna die. He was getting very weak. He asked to say, he said, Brian, can you come see me? I said, sure, I'll come see you. Of course I will. And he was talking to me and he was saying things like, I've worked this my whole life. I've worked hard my whole life, and I told you to keep going and go, like I was telling you. And he says, listen, enjoy, make sure you enjoy your life. And me being who I am at the time, I'm like, yep, yep, I'm yapping him to death, right? He knows it, right? He's
Right.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, can you hear me right now? And I'll never forget it because he was one person in my life that when he spoke, like, I listened. And he said that to me, I'll never forget it. Can you hear me right now? He wanted to make sure that I started enjoying a little bit of time. And what I'm telling you, Ron, is you're still a young guy. Don't wait till you're 58 or 59. Enjoy those moments now. And, I know you do, but try to schedule them in to your Google Calendar every freaking day.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know what? It's funny because when you said try to make time, I thought you were going to say every week, and then my brain filled it in with every week, and I'm like, I'm doing that. I go surfing like once, twice a week, sometime,
Yeah.
and like I go to the gym a couple times a week. Like, meet up with some friends, like plan like date night or something like that once a week. I was like, I'm doing, and then you said every day, and I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah. 'Cause it's important, you know?
yeah. Because there's some days where I definitely don't do that. I just go, I do the stuff, and
mm, yeah, you
but
go
but
for it.
then it gets balanced out on like the weekends, like something that I'm going in the right direction, which is good because a couple months ago I wasn't even doing that. It was just like nose to the grindstone. And
Yeah.
so, but I have realized that because I feel like I'm starting to realize that.
Mm,
And I'll just share it like this, right? So with like my different communities that I have, teaching people how to get sales online, um, like over the weekend, I don't even log into them. And I have this thought sometimes where it's like the weekend, I'll go surfing with a buddy of mine for like 4 or 5 hours. We'll go to like a couple different beaches. I'll get home and then I'm like washing off all my equipment and stuff and cleaning all that off. And then I'm just like dead tired, right? And so I take a quick shower, eat some food, like recover, you know, and then
mm,
figure out what I'm gonna do for like the rest of the day. And I'll have this thought of like almost like a guilty thought where it's like I'll think to myself, dude, like if you would have spent that 6 hours messaging every single person that's in your free community, do you think you would have gotten another sale? And I'm like, yeah, probably. And
mm,
and that thought is what used to stop me from even going to do that stuff before.
mm.
But now I'm like, I'm learning how to kind of separate that and be like, that's not all that life is about, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And
spiritual health, right?
right,
Spiritual health, body health. Take that siesta, take it, enjoy it, honor it, you know? Life goes by fast. It just does.
yeah,
And how many years have you been sober, Ron?
3.5. It'll be
Three
four
and a
in
half.
February,
How fast did that go by?
like that.
Like that.
Yeah, didn't feel like it at
Um,
first. At first, it was like day one, and then it's like day two, and I'm like, holy shit, it's only been a day, But yeah, now, yeah,
yeah. I remember this guy telling me, "Oh, you think it went fast when you turned 30?" He goes, "Wait till you turn 40." I'm like, "Ah, whatever, right?" But he was right. Like,
yeah,
man, I feel like I just turned 50 and here I am turning 60. Turned 60,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'll be
So,
40 in January, and
wow.
that's like crazy to me. I'm like, what
Yeah.
happened?
What happened? Exactly. And so I think, um, I think it's really important to take that time every single day and feel that spirit inside you, God's spirit, whatever you want to call it. Walk bare feet for Christ's sakes. I don't know how you want to do it, but just do something for your inner self and don't waste another day not doing that. No matter who you are,
Yeah,
you know? I always have this thing. There's magic in the morning. There's magic in the morning. And when I was in Spain, they were 6 hours, right? There's a 6 hour difference. So now I automatically wake up at 4 a.m. Now I'm trying to go to bed. I'm trying to sleep in a little bit, but I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm like one of those people when I wake up, I don't like to just lay there. I like to just bam, get up, let's go, make the bed, get going.
yeah,
And the great thing about this trip was now I'm getting up like 4 a.m., 4:30, and I can do all those things for me. I can go for a walk. I can, get my workouts in without any pressure. I can, just schedule my day because I know in 3 hours when 7 a.m. hits, now people, they just reach out, they can reach out to you, hey, I need this, I need that.
Right, right.
And it
Especially when you
changes.
run an organization.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything changes, right? And
yeah,
who knows? Maybe you have to drive to work if even if you don't run an organization, right? Now you're driving to work. I got to drive to work, you know,
right.
got to go bring the kids to soccer practice or whatever it is,
Yeah.
school.
It becomes reasonable for other people to be demanding of your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember Wayne Dyer saying he used to get up like at 3:15 every single day because I just wake up,
You know
you know?
something that I really love that just feels like the best for me is and I've done this more and more. I almost did this today, but it wasn't the conditions weren't right. Like waking up, like getting up at the same time that the sun's coming up, which is early for me, right?
Mm,
And and then like making my way down to the beach to go surf in the morning.
wow.
Like that's like like there's usually no wind on the water in the morning, so it's super glassy. The it just is like a reflection, the ocean,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And on top of that, if I don't have anything scheduled, that's when I do this. If the conditions are good and then there's nothing, nobody put anything on my calendar, I don't have any priorities or places to be, I'm like, I'll block it off like the night before. So I'll look at the waves, but there's going to be waves, and I'll block it off and go out there on a weekday. This is like the best doing this on a weekday, not just the weekend.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. There's no one there.
you're right. There's barely anybody there, and also I feel like it's helping me do like exactly what you're talking about because once I get there, I get in the water. It doesn't matter how many people want my time. I don't even know about it. I'm not even
Hmm.
aware. My phone's not in the water with me. Like I don't know. It's in silent. It's on silent. I have no idea that it's even ringing. Where I have it
Mm.
tucked away at, and if it is, and I know that I have like a 4 hour window until I have some stuff I have to do later, which is long enough for me to be out in the water until I don't feel like being there without even having to think about the time.
Mm.
And and I notice that when I do that, especially the days that I do that, like the universe can throw whatever it wants at me later on in the day, and I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah,
All
there's
right,
the
like
magic, right? There's the
yeah,
magic. I'm already at peace. You're not gonna
yeah,
mess up. You're not gonna mess my peace up today. No one can do it,
yeah.
right?
Like
I've been
no
on the
matter what.
waves. I've been in the ocean. I've absorbed the energy of the ocean.
Yeah,
So
and
those are things that are so important that personally I missed a lot of those times. But I don't miss them anymore. I make sure that I spend at least an hour or two a day on me, just on me. And that could be as easy as meditation. That could be as easy as watching the sun come up or
right,
down, right? Or down. Um, but I don't know if you would say that's escaping the matrix, right? Um, getting out of the matrix, which everyone is trying to do late as of late. But I think if you practice anything every single day, hey, this is my time.
yeah.
Um,
And I think it doesn't. It can be something that doesn't seem conventional too. Like because as you're saying this, I realize something that I do every day um, is I get up and I clean my house like every day.
yeah.
And I'm not like scrubbing baseboards every day, like not at
Mhm.
that level, but like I really like to like wash all the dishes, make sure that everything's put away,
Yeah.
like wipe the counters off, like do laundry if I need to. And and to anybody who's like trying to be like a successful driven entrepreneur, they're gonna be like, what? are you like just wake up and get to work?
Mm,
They're like, what are you like? Who cares about that?
yeah.
But I know that for me, because it's become a habit now, just the act of doing it, like I do it. If there's like dishes scattered from like the night before, things like left out on the coffee tables and stuff like that, I'll scoop it all up. And usually my girlfriend, she's already at work. She goes to work super early, so I don't expect her to do any of that stuff, right? So I get up, I start doing that before I even start doing anything productive for the day. And once everything's all clean, I look at it and I'm like, oh, this feels great. And then it's like as I'm clearing my space, I'm clearing my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's your sanctuary, right?
yeah. But
So
it doesn't feel like me time. It just feel, but it also doesn't feel like a chore. Like I'm like, oh, this sucks. I can't believe I got to clean it. It's just like, no,
yeah.
it's just
Why doesn't she
what I
clean it?
do.
Uh, but yeah. Um, yeah, I think that those, those are all the times, but the difference with that is, well, I have to clean, right? I have to clean my house. That's the way I am too. I like it clean. I don't feel comfortable unless it's clean,
Yeah,
you know? Um, and that's almost like a to-do list, you know? Um,
yeah. I mean, it depends on which way you look at it because I look at it like I get to clean my house.
yeah, exactly. You get to clean it, which is a blessing, right?
And when I think that, because when I do think that, like I was literally putting laundry in this morning, right? And I was like, how crazy is this? Like I have a washing machine.
Yeah.
There's a washing machine in here. I just put the clothes in, put the stuff in, and hit the button. Like
And
because
that's it.
I remember being on the street with a backpack full of clothes, trying to figure out how the hell I'm gonna clean my shit. Like, all right, I need to panhandle enough money, take time out of my day, go to a laundromat, wash all the stuff, put it back in my backpack, and go out and go back out into the street. And like I do that like once a month because it's like what homeless persons were like washing all their laundry all the time, not
Yeah.
even taking showers every day, you know.
Yeah.
That was a mission
Brutal.
too, doing that. It was like finding a place to be able to take a shower. It's like happens like once a week, you know, and that's got to be the main objective for the day, to be able to do that. And so I think about that when I'm cleaning dishes or when I'm putting stuff away or when I'm doing laundry.
Mm.
And so it really embeds that like I get to do this because it's not a given, you know.
I think one of the greatest things that happened to you, Ron, just looking in, your realization of the simple things in life are still big to you, you know?
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of people um take for granted, those great things, right? Like, you can find gratitude in cleaning up everyone's mess,
Right. Yeah.
you know? And that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful thing, you know? I know one of my good dear friend of mine, he has MS, he's had it for a long time now, 20 years, and he blows into a straw to control his wheelchair. And whenever I'm having like one of those moments where I'm like, oh, geez, my leg hurts or this hurt. I said, wait a minute, let's put this in perspective. You worked out the day before, your legs are sore, right? Don't be a friggin' baby. There's someone who would die to be able to walk right now, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I I like I like realizing how fortunate I am. And just like you're very fortunate to, you get to do the dishes.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool perspective.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like we can all have that perspective. For
Yeah.
there's at least one thing that we can have that perspective on. That if you're watching this applies to you. Like you get to be here, existing, breathing. Think about, I was thinking about this actually yesterday. And then I got another call starting in a minute, so we got to wrap it up. But I was thinking about like I was like, what are the odds?
Mm.
Like like I get to be here, like living, existing right now.
Mm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like I literally had this train of thought yesterday, and I thought, out of all the people in the world that are living, like I get to be one of them. And then I was
Yeah.
like, that's crazy. And then I took it another step further, and then I thought, okay, out of all the people who have ever lived, ever, like you think about like the 8 billion people or whatever the number is that are alive right now. But think
Mm.
about the amount of people who have ever lived, ever, right? And I get to be one of those, and I get to be alive right now because the majority of those people aren't here, right?
Yeah.
The majority of everybody who's ever existed ever has come and gone, right? We're who is alive right now, we're a small percentage, and and I get to be one of them.
Yeah. Here's a pretty good trip, right? So there's a cemetery by my house, and both sets of my grandparents are buried there. And I went to visit um one day, but I'm thinking like, okay, so my grandmother, right? My grandmother was made by my great grandparents, and my grandfather was made by his great grandparents. And the same on my dad's side, right?
Right,
Because they're all there, right? So those people made my grandparents. My grandparents made my parents. My parents made me. And when you look at that, how it branches out all those people before us
right,
to make us. I mean, that's a gift in itself. The
yeah,
odds of just being alive is amazing, even though you'll never feel it because you're already here, right?
right. Because we take it as a given. It's
We
like,
take it
but
as a given.
it's not a given because look at all the other people who aren't.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
And all the people that came before us, their trials and tribulations to keep going and going and going and going to create who we are today. When you look back at it, you could say, oh, would my great grandfather, if he was looking down on me, or my great grandmother looking down on me, would she be disappointed in me if I was all bummed out about the way my day was going?
right?
Probably, right?
Or if I was all bummed out because it's raining, it's
Yeah,
raining today, or
yeah,
like my Wi-Fi doesn't isn't working right.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
There was this I think it was on it was either YouTube or it was Instagram. And this guy with a long beard, he's, a guru of some type, I don't know, but I was just listening to what he said and he goes, a lot of people they're going to get to heaven, and knock on a door and meet the creator. So a lot of people, that's the way a lot of people think, right?
Hmm.
And they're going to say, "Oh, wow, I finally get to heaven." And spirit or God, whoever is going to say back to you, I gave you heaven on earth. You had all these beautiful animals. You had these beautiful scenery. You had beautiful skies. You know, you already had heaven. What more did you need? What more do you want? Right? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of if we choose to see it. Um, so if you made it to the end of this video,
Congratulations.
yeah, this you win a prize.
Yeah.
And the prize is some little bit of self-awareness. That's what you get.
Right on.
Um, and this is the Mind Design Podcast. We didn't do an intro, we just went straight into it today.
Yeah.
Uh, if you like this video and you want to see other conversations just like this, but a little different, check out the rest of the channel. Consider subscribing, or like just do it, or don't do whatever you want. But if you're here, I'm pretty sure that you probably enjoyed this because this has been like 50 minutes so far. So just hit the subscribe button and watch the rest of this stuff. That's it. That's all I got.
Always a pleasure, Ron.
Always a pleasure, Brian. See ya.